Hello, this is Cheryl.
And Cheryl.
And the lesson today is going to be on walkthroughs and making scenes. The most important step before you start anything is check that camera. And this time I've been driving that the camera has to be in parallel, but this time the camera has to be in perspective to do a walkthrough. And that's so important. And many students miss that and they're wondering why their walkthrough isn't working. The next thing is we want to bring in the toolbar, and the toolbar, view toolbars, is known as the camera toolbar. And there's our camera toolbar there. Okay.
So let's just highlight some of the tools we're going to be using to do our walkthrough and create our scenes. We have our position camera, we have our look around, and we have our walk. So let's start by using the position camera. So we want to start out by putting our person where we want to start our animation or our scenes. So we're going to start our person right at the end of our road. So the first thing we're going to do before we go anywhere else is take a look at our eye height, which is default 5'6". If you want, you can go a little bit higher if you want to have a tall person. Also notice that after we clicked on that position, that we ended up with an eyeball instead of the position person. So now we have an eyeball, and Cheryl is holding down the left button on the mouse, activating this eyeball, and we're able to actually take a look around. Why don't we just go back to our original position and let's create our first scene.
So to do a scene, you go View, Animation, and Add a Scene. And there's some variables here, but we're going to do nothing to save changes and just create the scene.
Okay, so we've created our first scene. Now we've got our eyeball back. Why don't we rotate our eyeball either over to the left or the right and create our next scene. Oh, looks pretty good there.
And again, View, Animation, and Add a Scene. And you'll notice every time I do that, scenes are being added up here in the tab bar.
And if you don't like any scene, you can always go back and delete a scene.
By right-clicking.
Yeah, right-click on it. You have the options to delete. But first, we're just going to go ahead and create some scenes and see if we like them. So now we're going to go up to our walk. So that's the footprints up there. We're going to grab that, or I should say, click on it. So you see a set of footprints now. We're going to be able to walk with those footprints. So if Cheryl holds down the left mouse key, or left mouse button, I should say, we're able to now take a walk through our terrain.
Then we'll go back and just add a scene again.
Okay, so when you're playing around with the walking, sometimes you'll end up going a little bit fast. You might try rotating, you'll crash into buildings and so on.
Just watch your speed. You're going to make someone nauseous.
Yeah, just watch your speed as you go.
And while I was doing that, I was pressing and moving my mouse left and right. You'll get a sense of how that walk goes through.
Okay, well, why don't we stop there
and add another scene?
Yeah. Okay, one interesting thing about creating scenes is we can actually go back to our position tool right there. We're going to click on that, our position camera. Let's place our person maybe somewhere up on the hill. So now you can see we're up on the hill. Now let's take our eyeball. We already got that. And why don't we try rotating around? So Cheryl's holding the mouse, the left key or the left button on the mouse, rotating around. Let's just drop it a bit. Why don't we stop about there? So now we're going to add another scene.
So you can View, Toolbars, Animation, and add another scene.
Okay, so let's test our scenes out. We now have 5 scenes. Now let's play them. Let's go to our scene 1. Takes us back to the start. And we'll just get our different scenes and just see where we end up.
And remember what Cheryl says, that if there's a scene that you don't like that one, you can actually right-click and delete it. And then we got our last scene.
So notice that with SketchUp and the scenes, it will automatically take you to where you had your position and take you back into the scene. So if we go back down and maybe position ourselves somewhere else, it will take us down there.
And I'm just going to finalize with an added note. While you're doing the scenes, you can actually go in, and remember when we had the shadows going on, you could actually maneuver your shadows in between scenes as well. So you can adjust your shadows as you're walking and make the scenes change at the same time. So it's just an added point. So that's it for the walkthrough and shadows, and we'll carry on to in the next lesson for doing the AVI file.